once told me something I'll never forget. While I can't forget it, I didn't actually memorize it either. So I'm left with this kind of vague recollection of having heard something really profound that I can't actually recall. I've always been really amused by words. You know, you can't really talk without them, so you got to try to have some fun with them. One of the words that really kind of blows my mind is if somebody gets shot in combat, I'm going to follow this same light-hearted comedy path that was set for me here by our host. If somebody gets shot, it's called and killed by their own troops, it's called friendly fire. Nothing fucking friendly about being dead, right? So it seems like a really odd choice of words, and if that same dude or dudette, as the case may be, manages to not get their fucking head blown off in war, but they come home brain damaged from all the heads they saw blown off, that's post-traumatic stress disorder. And that seems like an awfully well scrubbed up term for a really shitty situation. The old word used to be shell-shocked, which I think is a lot more honest and accurate way of describing it. You know, the fucking dude heard too many shells go off and he comes home and dives under a table every time he hears a loud noise. Another term that I find not quite right is taking a shit. Everybody's always gonna, I wanna go take a shit. Don't take a shit. Leave a shit. Let somebody else take it, right? What the fuck? So, but I think when it comes to having their own goofy jargon and their own vernacular, the medical industry fucking leads the parade, man. You got trichotillomatosis. You know, the doctor comes in, I believe you have obligatory globular necrosis, Mr. Smith. And we're going to have to prescribe some 25 milligram Progenitorvox from Merle Squibb Glaxo Company. They just have an amazing array of words and disease states and drugs that defy categorization, except they're medical. A friend of mine took his wife to the doctor recently, and he's in the waiting room, and the cardiologist comes out and he goes, you know, your wife has acute angina. And the guy said, I know. So anyway, I didn't come here to talk about medicine. I've always enjoyed words, and I'm something of a cunning linguist, I've been told. But speaking of fellatio, I wanted to talk about something less controversial, like religion. I'm a recovering Catholic, and I got no use for organized religion, man. I am on a 12-step program, and I think I'm on about step 3, and I'm going to run out of time. But if you look back through history, some of the worst fuckery and bad shit that's ever happened was in the name of organized religion. So I just don't have much use for it. And it's interesting that the Bible says nothing about sex, but all 4 major religions say you can't have sex unless you're married, you can't have oral sex, and you can't have anal sex. But there's nothing, the Bible doesn't talk about any of that shit. So I think it's really interesting. And the other thing that made me give up Catholicism is the hypocrisy. You know, it's a fine line between Saturday night and Sunday morning, and people pull all kind of shit Saturday night and then think it's okay because they go to church. So I think in terms of hypocrisy, I think it's interesting. The Catholics don't recognize Buddha as a sacred deity. The Muslims don't recognize Jesus as the Son of God. And Baptists don't recognize one another in the liquor store. So, I got 3 reasons why I don't believe in God. I'm just going to put it out there. Number 1, what sort of a God that supposedly created us in his own image would make me so I can have an erection or use my brain, but not both? There's not enough blood to do both. That's a design flaw, man. That's a serious design flaw for the ultimate guy that's running the universe. It's like a 15-year-old with a loaded gun and a belly full of whiskey. It's like, oh, what could go wrong? It's a bad design. The second reason I don't believe there's actually a God, why would he put our sex organs, the part that gives us the most pleasure in life, right next to a toxic waste port? Again, huge design flaw. Now I know we had a very vigorous presentation last week about eating ass, and I'm all for eating ass. That's great, but still, it shouldn't be right down there, man. That's fucking bad news. And again, my final reason, you may be unswayed so far, but my final reason I think is going to bring everybody over to my side. If God didn't intend for man to eat pussy, why did he make it look so much like a taco? Thank you.
Give it up for J.D. Smith one more time.